ഹായ്. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് ഈ നോറയിലെ വിശേഷങ്ങൾ ഒരു ഗൈഡ് ഫുള്ളാக ഡീറ്റെയിൽസ് ആയിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞു തരും. അപ്പം നമുക്ക് അതിലേക്ക് പോവാം. ഓക്കെ.
Now we are in a promontory with 2 points. The Costellato point with the Spanish tower from the 16th century AD. Okay. We are going to see in a while the second point, the Snake's Point. Okay. And there were, 2 harbors. The eastern one and the western one. 2 harbors. Phoenicians, they needed 2 harbors because they knew that Sardinia is usually a windy island. So they needed 2 options to land in safety. Okay. When winds were too strong over there, they could land to the other side.
Okay.
So Phoenicians, people coming from east, the nowadays Lebanon, more or less. From Lebanon, they used to cross the Mediterranean Sea looking for resources and metals and silver. Silver that they used to find in Sardinia, but mostly over there in Spain.
Spain. Okay.
So Lebanon and Spain, the strategic position of the island of Sardinia.
Okay.
So the beginning, the 8th century before Christ, there was not a town. This place was only a marketplace for tradings between Phoenicians and Sardinian villages in the mainland. The Nuragic civilization. Do you know Nuragi?
No.
Before you leave Sardinia, it's a must to visit one Nurage. If you go in Egypt, you visit a pyramid.
Okay.
It's a must. In Sardinia, you have to visit a Nurage. The most known in Sardinia is maybe Barumini. In Barumini is the only UNESCO site we have in Sardinia. So, if you have the time, don't miss it. It's amazing. Only in Sardinia you can see something like that.
Yeah,
I'm talking about
went
like
there.
medieval castles. They was built 15th century before Jesus Christ with huge stones. So it's very interesting. So I was talking about the Nuragic civilization and Phoenicians in peace together. But at the time there were not stone buildings, only wooden huts. So nothing is left. 6th century before Christ, from south, from North Africa, Carthaginians arrived and they took possession of this place by war, the Punic age. Punics and Carthaginians is the same civilization. I'm talking about Carthago, a town that was very close to nowadays Tunisia. So Carthaginians. At the time, Carthaginians were a power in the Mediterranean Sea before Rome. So Rome and Carthago, like nowadays, USA and Russia, okay? 2 powers.
Okay.
And 3rd century before Christ, Sardinia became Roman. So Phoenicians and Punics and Romans. Now we are going to see the Roman area of the town with the Roman buildings, like a Roman theater, thermal bath, mosaics, etc.
Okay.
Nora, it's an abandoned town. Nora was abandoned in the 8th century AD. We are going to talk about it later.
Okay.
But it's an abandoned town. So you can imagine in the time, in the centuries, every building collapsed. And vegetation covered everything. Nothing was more on site for a long, long time. Till the first important excavations in 1952. Before the excavations, nothing was on site at all except the last rows of a Roman theater. The only one left in Sardinia is the only one because the one in Cagliari is not a theater. In Cagliari we have an amphitheater. Amphitheater was used by gladiators for fightings. This one is a theater for plays, actors, different shape, different use. They began from the theater to use it, and they found this part of Nora. This is only a part of Nora, because actually the end of the town is close to the beach and the parking area.
Okay.
So the area between the ticket office and the parking area over there is a former military zone. It's no more a military zone. It's 7 years. We have a new excavations by 2 universities, Padova University and Cagliari University. So they are working only 7 years in this new area. It's new, it's not new, it's very ancient, okay? So we are going to see now what was found in the 50s, 1950s. Well, let us see, please. So in 1950s they found on the Snake's Point over there the remains of a temple from the Imperial Roman age. You know, we talk about the Republican age when is before Jesus Christ. So after Jesus Christ is Imperial Roman age, okay? So the remains of an Imperial Roman age temple, but was built on the remains of an ancient Punic temple on the top of the hill. The basement of an open-air temple, the Tanit temple, goddess of fertility. 6th century before Christ, a second Punic temple. 4 universities are working here every year, and they recently found on the top of the small hill on the right a 3rd Punic temple. So there were 3 Punic temples. Now look the position of the 3 temples. 1, 2, and 3. This one is called a cult triangle. When inside in the middle, the heart of the town in the Punic age, but also in the Roman age, when they built their forum. Forum is the main public square in a Roman town and was also the center of the administration and politics. Very few was left of the forum in Nora, so Padova University, they were working 10 years for this new excavation, and they needed a lot of gravel with different color to try to explain us how it was originally. So it was squared in shape, originally surrounded by walls. To enter there were 2 arched doors. Now we are going to see the door to enter the forum, so please. As you can see, new excavations. Every year there is a new excavation, new sessions. So here it is, the door to enter. So squared in shape, black in color, 2 bases for the arch, the door to enter, and the doorstep. Inside was an open air space, original slabs. On the right, western side, eastern side, 2 porticos. Porticos with columns and basement for statues. No statues were found, but we have a pedestal over there with the name of a woman, Favonia Vera. It's interesting that the second basement was found in a house in Cagliari, in the Archaeological Museum. On the second one, there is the same name again, Favonia Vera again. But more, we can read, she gave a house in Cagliari to the citizens from Nora when they had to go to Cagliari for business. She gave a house, great woman, Favonia Vera. Padova University students, they worked under the Roman layer, so there is a piece of the Punic town. Warehouses and wells for fresh water. So now you can see 2 different layers of the town, the Roman one and the Punic one.
This is the Roman one.
Yes. So the black color of the gravel, they were walls. Originally there was a wall. Okay? Now, next step. 1st century AD. A so-called Roman temple, this one with a column. It's called the Roman temple, but was not a temple to a god, was actually a temple to the emperor. So it was an Augusteum. You know Caesar Augustus? So this was an Augusteum. There it is. 1st century AD, Imperial Roman age. Here it is, a large doorstep for a gate to enter a courtyard. And now he's in black, but originally there was a mosaic. So you can see only the few pieces of a mosaic left. Was a labyrinth originally. The pattern was a labyrinth. And so this one is a courtyard and 6 columns in front of it. 6 columns. The remains of the altar. The altar is outside, not inside. In a Christian church, we can enter. In a Roman temple, in a Greek temple, never. Inside is a sacred area only for the priest. So the altar for offerings is outside. Now, there is a first surprise. Padova University students, they were working on the floor of this room. They found 18 silver coins. Silver coins from the 1st century before Christ, covered and protected by a terracotta mask. Coins were an offering to the gods before the making of a temple, that was a gift by Romans to the inhabitants in Nora as a sign of peace when Sardinia became from Punic Roman. Exactly the date of 4 of those coins you can see in Cagliari in the Archaeological Museum.
Okay, from that room.
Yes, under the floor of that room.
Yes,
Under the floor. So it's very interesting. So lucky guys they were. And you know, recently the same students from Padova University, they found in a new excavations over there beyond the forum, very close to the modern house, 49 bronze coins under the floor. Remember, they were always a vote to the gods. Okay? The coins were from the same time of Caracalla the emperor. So it's very interesting if you enter the internet site nora.it. Very interesting to see the 3D reconstruction of all those buildings, made in a scientific way by the 4 universities.
Okay.
It's very interesting also because you can read everything was wrote about Nora recently too, and you can see also a lot of pictures of the coins, of the statues, everything. So Nora.it is very interesting.
Nora.it.
Now, the only Roman theater left in Sardinia was built in 50 AD, 50. It's very ancient. There it is. It's a small theater. It's a jewel. So nice, so well preserved. So, seats for the people is called cavea. 11 rows, but originally there were 17. So we lost the upper side. It's a very small theater for 1,000 people only. It's very small. Cavea. The place is called orchestra. Orchestra originally with a red marble with white veins. An expensive kind of marble. So expensive that was stolen in the centuries. So you can recognize the original pieces on the left over there and on the right very close to the mosaic. You see them?
Yeah.
It's a very
The
dark red. Okay. Original pieces. The rest is a restoration.
Okay.
And the people couldn't see the sea because originally there was a wall. In front of the wall there was a wooden stage. Wooden, nothing is left, but you can recognize the slots for the wooden planks from the bank to the pillars, the brick pillars.
Okay.
So that one is under the stage. And we are beyond the wall because there was a portico. A portico just in front of this paved Roman street
Okay.
with a 12 basement for 12 pillars.
Okay.
So you could see through the pillars just the paved Roman street, but remember, not the forum inside, because there was a portico.
Okay.
Okay? And they used as shelters to protect the audience from the sun, from the rain. They used to open large canvas called velaria. Velaria were also used in the amphitheater in Cagliari and the Colosseum in Rome. Under the stage, they found 4 terracotta jars, and they thought were used to amplify the voice of the actors, as Vitruvio wrote about. You know, in Nora, this is not true. jars are actually from the 5th century AD, after the falling of the Roman Empire, when all the Roman theaters were no more in use, were abandoned like this one. So this area was actually was a warehouse to store dry foods into the jars. Dry foods into the jars, no amplification, it's a small theater. So different archaeologists, different explanations. It's very hard for the guide. I'm joking. So, the theater. And beyond the theater, we are going to see how large the town was. The so-called main block of the town. It's like the city center. With the remains of patrician houses. You know, patricians, rich people, nobles, were called patricians. And they used to stay and live in the houses called the domus. In Sardinia too, we call the house sa domu. Sa is the article. Domo like domus. You know, Sardinian is not an Italian dialect. Sardinian is a language. We are so proud of it. Here it is. The remains of the domus. Not only private buildings, but also a public building. The central bath. You know, we are in a town with 4 baths. A very rich town. The archaeologists used to talk about 7 Nora, in the sense that Nora changed 7 times. You know, the first town was not Phoenician. The first town was Punic, with the stone buildings. Then there was a Republican age, the Roman Republican age, then the Imperial Roman age, then the Vandals. Vandals too arrived in Sardinia. Barbarians from middle of Europe crossing Spain, they settled in North Africa. From North Africa, they arrived in Sardinia. Vandals. This was the beginning of the slow abandon of the town. '5th century AD, Vandals' time, we can see some house was built at the time. It's very rare in Italy and in Sardinia too to see restorators working, because as usual is a problem the excavations, but not in Nora. 4 universities are working, but not only we have excavations, we have also restorations, so they are restorators. You know, this is the side too close to the sea, so you can imagine every winter time we have problems by the sea, so they are making this very hard work, restoration. Here it is, 5th century AD. Squared in shape is one house with 3 stories originally. On the ground floor, you should imagine slaves working with millstones. You know, millstone, here it is. There is a millstone over there. The dark rock is a millstone over there. And another stone over there. A brick circle, you should imagine this was the cover, was on a furnace. A furnace. And a stable for animals and slaves all together, unfortunately. Another courtyard with that one, you know, is not an underground terracotta jar. It's only the top of a jar, cut in this way to top a well for fresh water. So it's a well actually. It's still working well. You know, before a Roman aqueduct that was built in Nora, they needed a lot of water. So they found up to now 90 water tanks to collect rainwater, and 30 wells like that one still nowadays working. The sea was not here. The level of the sea was lower than now. We are going to talk about it later. Before that, I would like to show you the Roman layer of the town and the Punic town. The town was lower than in the Roman times. Punic housing, Punic masonry technique. The name of this masonry technique is Opus Africanum. And it was used in Nora for a long, long time. As you can see, standing stones and small stones to fill in.
Okay.
This is the technique used by Carthaginians. This one is the technique used by Romans. So different. You know, distance between Sardinia and Tunisia, it's only 189 kilometers. So Carthago is over there. So you can imagine how strong was the influence on south of Sardinia. So Punic and Roman. Now we are going to see the largest mosaic in town. It's only the largest one. We are going to see the most beautiful ones later. Is a nice frigidarium in the central bath. There was a public square to enter the bath. A large room with a nice mosaic with straight lines as you can see them under the water. Like a bottom of a pool, they're looking like waves. You know, it's not a pool because the water was actually in a tub on the left. So this is only an idea to think about the water, waves. If you go and visit Caracalla thermal bath in Rome, you will see the same, but huge. Caracalla thermal baths are huge. Milano University, they are still working in this side of the town.
Okay.
Every year. This is the first year, unfortunately, there's no excavations. You know, this is due to the COVID. Because every year on September, October, you can see the 4 universities working. Now we are going to see an amazing viewpoint. It's called a sacred road. It's a special paved Roman street from the town to the Ashmun temple. Ashmun, the god of the medicine, the Phoenician name. Asclepius is the Greek name, Aesculapius is the Roman name. The symbol was a snake, the same you can see in the pharmacies and doctors with the cross. They found actually in front of it 2 small terracotta statues, 2 sleeping boys, one of them with a coiled snake around. You can see the original statues in Cagliari in the Archaeological Museum. So, the sacred road. Here it is. So nice. It's amazing. It's original. As was found in 1950s. So well preserved. This is a street from the 2nd century AD.
Oh.
Yes. There is a difference. If you visit Pompeii, you will see the marks of the wheels of the cart. Not in Nora. Nora, it's only a wide pedestrian town, no cars, because Roman streets are very irregular in Nora. Nora is not like the usual Roman town. Nora is chaotic, like in North Africa, like a Casbah. So it's a very North African kind of town. So streets are so irregular, no cars, only a pedestrian town. As you can see from this point to the temple, a lot of slabs are missing. This is new. Do you remember I said Nora is an abandoned town? For centuries, they used to take away the stones like a quarry to build 3 Spanish towers, the Sant'Efisio Church on the beach, and the Pula. Pula, the town, was built using stones coming from Nora. This was very usual in the ancient times. The Colosseum in Rome was originally covered by a lot of marble, and the marble was taken away by a rich family called the Barberini family. They used to take away the stones for their very rich houses. So criminals, but was usual. Now we are going to see the most beautiful mosaics we have in Sardinia. In the largest house in Nora, 900 square meters house, is a poor family. It's called the house of the Atrium Tetrastilo. Tetrastilos, 4 columns, original columns. Here they are. Do you remember when I said Sardinia it's a windy island? It's peculiar in Sardinia to see trees growing up in this way. This is due to the wind. It's not broken.
Because of heavy wind, it will be coming like this.
Yeah. You can see a lot of trees like that in the middle of Sardinia, or north of Sardinia, because it's a very windy island.
These all are originals. Pillars.
They are original. It's a limestone. And now we are going to see on the columns the marks of the chisel. They are coming from North Africa.
Okay.
So a large house with a front of the house, another front was in front of the sea. But on this side there were 7 basements for 7 pillars.
Okay.
This one is the only house in Nora with a private portico. The only one. From the portico, please, the main entrance. Yes, you can enter. A piece of a marble door step where you can see the marks of the opening and closing of the door. Opening and closing of the door. Here it is.
Marble. This much.
This marble is coming from Tuscany. Marble from Carrara. Do you know Carrara?
I heard.
Yes, the most known is from Tuscany. Was very well known in Roman times too. So the white one is from Carrara. And from the main entrance, the small courtyard with all the rooms all around. So please, follow me. As I said before, the marks of the chisel. They are original columns. And originally there was a roof line on the columns. You know, in the middle was empty. So when it rained, rainwater fell in the middle. Here it is, a water tank to collect rainwater, marble slabs all around to keep water in, was like a basin.
Okay.
Underground canalization from the water tank to the
Well.
over there.
What well?
Yes. Talking about the water was a house, this house was independent. They didn't need the aqueduct in this case. We don't know exactly the use of all those rooms all around except those ones with the mosaics. Mosaics, they were expensive floors, used in special rooms to receive a special guest. Here it is, it's a masterpiece. So nice.
Yeah.
With such a lot of colors and tiny squared in shape stones called tessere. You can see the same patterns everywhere in the Roman Empire. France, Spain, Germany, they used to copy from Rome. But there was in Nora a local mosaicist that used something that was like his signature. I'm talking about the black figures, sorry. Do you see the black figures?
Yeah.
They are called pelte. Into each one there is a white and yellow heart. Do you see the heart? For that,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
style is called the small hearts atelier. It's a local style only from Nora. It's unique. It's amazing.
This mosaic means these are small one pieces, is it?
Yes, they
And
are
they are
pieces of
make
cut stones, small cubes.
Yeah, cube, and they will be making in different shape according to the
Yes,
cube.
correct. And you can see different times because this one was a very ancient restoration. So it's ancient, it's not modern. They needed a restoration. As you can see the difference between the original one. This one is the original, this one is a restoration in the ancient times.
Okay.
So you can see how different is the style. So this one was not so good like the original one.
Yeah.
And the only human figure left in Nora is into the square mosaic. It's called emblema, originally with a couple of figures. The second one is lost. A lot of stupid people taking it with a tester like souvenirs. Very stupid people. So now you can see there is a woman with a veil around her. She's sitting on a mermaid tail. The second one was not a mermaid, actually was a monster. Half man, bull legs, and a long mermaid tail. So he was a Triton. And she's the daughter of the god of the sea. You know,
Okay.
was called Neptune, Poseidon. The ancient name is Nereus. So one of the 50 daughters of the, yes, poor man, only girls, I'm joking. So, and it's a nice mosaic, but please look over there, tiny tesserae, they're more expensive. As you can see, it's not the same style, no small heart. You know, this is the North African style, tiny tesserae,
Yeah, yes.
unbelievable. They are like stone carpet.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the North African style. From North Africa, the best mosaics is in the Imperial Roman age. This is the western side of the house. And,
These are rooms?
sorry,
This was rooms? Room. This was room?
special room,
Okay.
like the other one, to receive special guests.
Okay.
An example, tablinum was a special room like a studio to receive work meeting. To receive people in case of work meeting, and tablinum from tabula are documents,
Okay.
and triclinium is another very interesting room. Triclinium was a dining room, usually with the sofas, people laying this way on the left side and getting some fruit from a table in the middle. So this is called the triclinium. It's very hard nowadays to say this is the triclinium, that one is the tablinum, because nothing is left. But usually, the most beautiful mosaics were in this kind of special rooms. And the archaeologist that was working in this area used to talk about North Africa nostalgia, because this one is a very North African kind of house just in front of the sea with this long veranda. Was an open space. You should imagine at lunchtime the owner of this house receiving his friends to have a lunch looking at this nice panorama. And a good idea was maybe the owner of this house, he could see his ships coming to the harbor. So maybe he was a rich trader. Who knows? And you know, this house was larger than now due to the erosion by the sea and the rising of the sea, more than 140 centimeters in 2,000 years. We lost more than 70 meters of the coast. So this promontory was originally twice larger than now. You know, nothing is left at the bottom of the sea. Everything was destroyed by the sea, slowly, but was destroyed.
It will be more.
Yes,
is it?
yes, correct. And you know, the archaeologists, they found that at the bottom of this bay, there are still over there 9 shipwrecks from Punic times, from Roman times, and one is Spanish.
Ah,
Okay? Shipwreck. Okay, so they are still over there. So for that, we have the cameras to protect everything. 24 hours to protect the sea and the mosaics. You can say hello to Big Brother. Hi. 1960, the first excavations were stopped. The problem was the building over there, the largest thermal bath in Nora. 1977, the archaeologists used a crane and moved the pieces of the walls and the roof over there. So now we can talk about the largest thermal bath in Nora, the seafront thermal bath.
How much meter it was the before?
70 meters, 70 more or less. Depends on the shape of the land. So 70, but sometimes 120 meters. So depends on the
The
shape.
whole area.
Yes, if
The
you,
whole
yes, yes, correct. You can imagine, do you see the falaisia over there, the rock?
Yeah.
It's cut in this way. So with the rising of the sea, there's no change. But when the land is so low, there is the sea that is coming in.
Okay.
So depends on the shape of the soil, the land, the ground. Okay.
Fine.
Well, usually is 70 meters, more or less, 120. Okay, was twice what you are looking now, double.
Okay.
So we are going to talk about the largest thermal baths in Nora. They are so interesting because they were transformed, modified in a fortress. You know, after the falling of the Roman Empire, there was no more a Roman fleet to defend Sardinian coast against the enemies coming from the sea. So the inhabitants in Nora, they had to defend themselves. For that, they transformed the building in a fortress that lasted until the 8th century AD, when unfortunately, from east, Saracens arrived, pirates. They set fire to the building that collapsed. The end of the fortress, the end of the town, forever. After 1,500 years, the end of Nora. So it's time to go to the thermal bath, the seafront thermal bath. This narrow alley, it's original. So you can imagine one house on the left, another one on the right. On September, October, usually you could see the Milano University students working in this new house, the second largest one in Nora, 700 square meters. Another rich family. One is the courtyard, it's an open space. This canalization was useful in case of too much rain. In Italian, it's called troppo pieno. So, too much rain, a pipe, if you can imagine the beginning of the pipe, the roof, pipe, canalization towards the sea, a courtyard.
Okay.
So part of the rain was used into the water tanks, and too much rain towards the sea.
See, okay.
And the restaurators in these days, they were cleaning the two canalization, the two troppo pieno. You can see the difference between the techniques. This one using bricks, this one is using a very waterproof mortar. So different technique. No columns left, but you can recognize the basis of the columns, the gray ones. 4 columns, so you can imagine the courtyard in the middle with all the rooms all around. So this house is very similar to the other one. So are you enjoying the tour? Are you in a hurry, or can I show you the rooms inside?
Yeah.
Because only with a guide you can enter. Okay, so ours brick pillars, and the pieces over there were originally inside.
Okay.
Pieces of the walls and the roof. So talking about the thermal bath, they needed furnaces, slaves fueling furnaces using wood or charcoal. So you should imagine a floor suspended on brick pillars, big furnaces. This system is called hypocaust, from Greek hypokausto. Hypokaio is the Greek verb to say to set a fire under. This is the system used in thermal bath. So everything is original, except when you recognize the concrete over there. So this one was made recently because everything was eroded by the sea. So it's only 1 year that I can show you this side because it was built this way. So this one is the warmest room in the building, because only in this room there were 2 furnaces. The big arch over there is not a pizzeria, it's a furnace, okay? There was another here. You should imagine another brick arch. So 2 furnaces. And you should imagine slaves fueling by wood or charcoal or hot air crossing amongst the brick pillars. Brick pillars are the original ones. The concrete is a restoration because the archaeologists found the floor was collapsing.
Okay.
So this is to give you the right idea as the building was originally, with the floor in this way. Sorry, they are not Pink Floyd, unfortunately. Okay, so this is the original floor. And the name of this room is Laconicum. There was a tub, rectangular in shape, for 7-8 people per time to have a very hot bath. And was used also for a sauna. Laconicum is the name of this room. On the right, you can see there was a door to enter the Calidarium, the name of the next room, Calidarium. So the tunnel over there is coming from the furnaces. So you can imagine hot air coming from the furnaces under the floor. Okay? Not only. Do you see the wall over there? It's not broken. It's a canalization under the into the wall for hot air crossing into the wall everywhere. So you should imagine there was the original floor from door to door. All the brick pillars are missing now because remember the building was transformed in a fortress. But originally there were floors suspended on brick pillars. So this is the Calidarium. There was not a unique itinerary, but the advice was in the Roman times to have a cold bath and finally a sauna. But people were free to make what they want. Next room is very important. It's a room when people used to cross from the Frigidarium, a place where there was not furnaces, was cold water, crossing to the warmed rooms. So it was very important to avoid the shock. Okay, it's called the Tepidarium. Here it is. Tepidarium. So people, they had to stay in this room some time chatting, talking about something like politics. And you can see in this room 3 doors. One is from the Tepidarium to the Calidarium. One is from the Tepidarium to the Frigidarium. And the third one, very interesting, because you know, this is the west, the side where the sun goes down. So this is for a long time, a very hot side, very warmed by the sun. So there was a special room where people, they used to stay to have a sun bath, massages, nothing to do all the time. So, hard life. It's called the solarium. Here it is, the solarium. What a hard life. This side was destroyed by the sea. Nothing is left. But you can recognize the doors. 1, 2, 3 doors. This was the layer, the original layer. The rest is missing. But remember, you can see the reconstruction on the site nora.it. They are very interesting because you will see all the rooms inside were plastered by marble. When they stole the marble, few pieces are still there, so we know exactly which kind of marble was used in this building. Very interesting room, please follow me. The next one, this one, squared in shape. Useful and interesting room, squared in shape, with a canalization all along the walls for water coming from the tops. Please. Thank you so much. Water running and cleaning the public latrines, toilets, restroom. Like those ones in Pompeii, you should imagine a brick bank covered by marbles, a marble slab. Each wall is a sitting place. What is missing? No sense of privacy. They were all sitting together and chatting. Yes, business time. It's funny that Romans wrote about slaves to sit down before their masters to warm the seat because marble is cold. I like to call them seat warmers. What a nice job. Seat warmers. Nowadays too we have a lot of them in politics. Not only in Italy, everywhere. Seat warmers. That is the portico. A new excavation by Milano University is called the House of the Ancient Well. Here it is. This is the original well that was excavated recently. The most ancient one found up to now in Nora. So you can imagine this well was used when Phoenicians were trading with Sardinian people, Sardinian Norax people.
Is this the fresh water or it will be salty?
Yes. It's a little bit salty nowadays. So the water was analyzed recently in laboratory, and now we know there is a 1 to 7. 7 times is sweet, 1 is salty. Because what is changing is the level of the sea. So now it's lower than originally. Okay?
But till it has the water.
It's coming from the mountains.
Mountain.
Underground,
Okay.
going towards the sea.
Can you explain it?
Yes, in the nature is usual.
Underwater.
Yes,
Yeah.
underwater. So they needed to make an excavation to find the underwater. And this is everywhere. So they were very good people to find water.
And I have another question. The source of the thermal bath water is where it's coming from?
The water is coming from an aqueduct. We are going to talk about the aqueduct. You know the Roman aqueduct with the arches?
Yeah.
Okay, we are going to talk about it later.
Okay.
Okay, before that, you can take pictures if you want. Interesting room. This one is the changing room. The name of the changing room is Apoditerium, with the original mosaic. Large tesserae, few colors. Why? Because this is a public building. A public building. It's not a rich house like the other one. So, large tesserae and few colors. In the changing room, they used to leave their clothes in the boxes with numbers. Clever people. It's like nowadays. You know, it's funny that in suburban thermal bath in Pompeii, the archaeologists did not find only numbers. He actually found erotic pictures. Maybe it was easier to remember a naked girl than a number. Man, we are always the same. From the changing room, they used to enter the meeting point. It's called the frigidarium, with tubs with not warmed water. So it's cold water, frigidarium. You know, remember that thermal baths were not used only to have a bath. This was a meeting point where people used to meet other people to talk about politics, business, drink wine, write poems, meet girls and boys. Now, I would like to show you a piece of the roof collapsed. Remember the fire?
Yeah.
The pirates, they set fire to the building. There it is. You should imagine originally this was the roof, and after the fire collapsed in this way. You can see how thick walls were. Everything is original. Stones, bricks, and Roman mortar. Roman mortar is looking like a cement. The Latin name is Opus Cementitium. Opus is opera, cementitium is like cement. Lime, sand, and water. Unbelievable. A special kind of sand is called pozzolana. Pozzuoli is a volcano in not far from Rome. It's a volcanic kind of sand with volcanic ashes. So there is a chemical reaction. For that is so strong.
But it came from Rome, right? Where the
Sands, volcanic sands, is coming sometimes, not always, from Rome. Bricks sometimes are coming from Rome, but not always. The most of the bricks were made here, in the surroundings. So, unbelievable. The cover was a barrel vaulted. This is the main entrance. And we are still in the portico with the pillars. And we are leaving the portico by 3 steps, original steps, to have a walk on the original paved Roman street. Ready? Original street, higher in the middle, lower by side for rainwater. As you can see, holes, underground canalizations, the main sewage to drive away rainwater. The name of the sewage, the Latin name is cloaca. And I would like to show you the peculiar Roman technique using roof tiles in this way. This technique is called alla cappuccina. Cappuccio, not this one, is this one, okay? Cappuccina technique. They are very small. If you go and visit Rome, you can see the Cloaca Maxima. It is still working nowadays. You can enter by boat. Don't do it, it's better. You can imagine why. So, Cloaca Maxima in Rome, a small one in...
Why it is using like this?
Because they are strong. If you made something like 2 and 1, you could broken it. But this one is stronger. It's very hard to broken it. So they were very good people in these techniques. Engineers.
These are made in the Europe?
Yeah, they are original. They were in the 2nd century AD. 2nd century AD, they needed this system when there was an aqueduct. So very streams, running water for the bath. Before that, very interesting, this long building. There was a floor upstairs. To understand one of the use of this so-called insula, please look at with me the large doorstep with this peculiar groove called binario. Too large to be the entrance of an house. This was not an house. This was a shop. The name is Taberna. The owner of this taberna used to live upstairs. Every morning, they used to open the small door in this way.
Okay.
Then they used to move the wooden shutters in this way, like sliding doors. They used to set a wooden counter to show the stuff they wanted to sell. This is, you should imagine this way is the more trafficated, the crowded way. People going towards the harbor or going to the forum. So the shopping street with the shops on the right and on the left. Can you imagine it?
Yeah.
So everything is original, except that. And those pieces were originally inside.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, and 4. Portico, another portico over there. So porticos everywhere in this town.
The whole was houses, right?
This was a long building, as I said before, with the shops. But in front of us, very rich houses. And this one is a very interesting public square, but it's also a crossroad. Look, so irregular the streets are in Nora. Remember when I said it's a chaotic town, it's like a kasbah. Do you remember how large the road was over there? Now look, it's very narrow here. And it's so narrow because there was a shop. This one was a shop. You can recognize the entrance. And this is the floor of a shop. So for that, it's very narrow. Roman streets in Nora were slabbed with this volcanic rock. It's a volcanic rock because we are in a very ancient volcanic area. You know, in Sardinia, there's no more volcanoes, but there were in the ancient times. So the name of this rock is andesite. And andesite is coming from a quarry that is the hill with the tower. So it's not far. And in the nearby, the archaeologists found milestones, the stones with a number of miles. For that we know that Nora was Caput Via, the starting point of a Roman road from Nora to Cagliari, from Nora to Bithia. Bithia is another Punic town on the west. In Chia Beach. Do you know Chia Beach? No. Are you by car?
Yeah.
So 15 minutes by car. Okay. 15 minutes. 1-5. Okay. One of the most beautiful beach we have in Sardinia. Okay. Sand dunes. So don't leave it before to have a nice view of this place. Name? Okay? Yeah. Chia. The name is Chia. Chia. Very easy. Okay. The same way from Cagliari is called 195. Okay? Towards over there, 15 minutes, and you will see the sand dunes. Nice place. Just a little bit windy today, but it's very nice. Okay, Nora was the starting point of Roman roads because, as the Romans used to say and to write, Nora was the first town in Sardinia, the most ancient one, the most important one. Before Cagliari, Nora was the seat of the governor of the Romana provincia of Sardinia and Corsica. So the governor used to stay and live in this town. And do you remember you was asking about how was the working of this thermal bath? Yeah. They needed a lot of water. Yeah. So before the thermal bath, they had only water tanks, only wells underground, but for the 4 thermal baths and for 6 public fountains, they needed more water. So they built an aqueduct, 3 kilometers long only. Okay. From the inside, the mainland, 3 kilometers. 3 kilometers for Romans is nothing. In Rome, 11 aqueducts. And sometimes they are long more than 100 kilometers. Oh. So 3 kilometers is nothing. So I was talking about the public fountains. Do you remember the very rich house with the system, with the rain, water? But the other ones, normal people, ordinary people, they needed public fountains like this one. This was a fountain.
Is this was also like that one?
Now this one is a modern. It's like a sculpture. It's very ugly and doesn't work. Very bad. Original Roman public fountain. You know, to answer better to your question, in Roman times, usually fountains were monumental, not so simple like that one. So like this one. So they used to get some water from the public fountains. So in Rome, Trevi's fountains is still working by water coming from an ancient aqueduct. Still nowadays, unbelievable. So 3 kilometers is nothing. They found the pieces of the pillars because usually in the aqueduct there were pillars and arches. Okay? So the public fountain, beyond the fountain, the remains of a reservoir to give water to the fountain, from which pipes and canalizations gave water to the central thermal bath, and to the thermal bath, the seafront thermal bath. So water everywhere. Great people. The last mosaic for today. The last one, only 3 colors. But they were the colors of this town, except the house, the very rich house over there. The other domus, they use only 3 colors: white, black, and ochre. Here it is. Third century AD, very ancient. This is a monumental lobby, a public monumental lobby with the 2 entrances along the street. This one is a doorstep. There is another one over there. It's a portico, as you can recognize. It's a portico with pillars all around a small courtyard to collect the rainwater. So people, they could enter because it was free and was public. And there was a door over there, a stairway to go upstairs, and maybe there was an office to receive people. Was a teacher, was a doctor, who knows? Something that used to receive people. The back of the theater, do you remember the theater? Yeah. This is the back, and you can see the entrances. Flights of steps were used to enter. The name of the flights of steps is vomitoria. Not vomit, is only a way to call the entrances. Vomitoria. And original Roman bricks from the 2nd century AD. This space was used like small shops, maybe for souvenirs, Sardinian beer, something like that. And as you can see, the town was mostly built with this rock. This rock is not a volcanic rock. This one is a sedimentary rock. Was the sand from the beach? It's called arenaria. It's a sandstone. We know the big quarry is just in front of us. Do you see the white building the opposite side of the bay? Yes. Okay, you can visit it. There is a cooperative. It's called the Laguna di Nora. You can visit the quarry. You can see the stones ready to be taken away. And as a restaurant, there is also a special sea turtle hospital. Okay. You know, in case of problems in the fishing net, there is the hospital for the sea turtles. So this one is original. And you can see the difference between sandstone coming from the sea and sandstone coming from the river. From the river is gray. So we're talking about a rock from 120,000 years ago. 120,000 years. It's a lot, but it's nothing if we talk about a volcanic one 24 million years ago. So she's a girl. 24 million years ago. The last step, very nice view, to talk about the Tanit temple. Do you remember the 3 temples?
Yeah.
Tanit temple, goddess of fertility. 1889, they found, after a big sea storm on the beach, the sea storm brought to light a special sacred area called the Tophet. Tophet was a special area used in the Punic times only for children, stillborn or dead soon after their birth. You can see a very nice and interesting Tophet in Sardinia, in Sant'Antioco Island. Sant'Antioco is at the end of this street, the street from Cagliari, 195. From Cagliari to Sant'Antioco, you will visit if you want, if you can, if you have the time. This special sacred area called the Tophet. And so after the finding of the Tophet in our beach, the archaeologist, he had a walk on the top of this hill, and he found a pyramidal in shape stone. He said maybe this was the symbol of the goddess set on the altar on the top of the hill, because a Tanit symbol is a circle, a line, and a triangle. Tanit, goddess of fertility. Well known in Egypt too, in the eastern countries. You can see this symbol on the spectral stones were found on the Tophet, and usually with the sun and the moon. Here it is. This was set after this system, 1889. But now in these times, the archaeologists used to say the stone was only one of the stones used to build the temple. Was not a symbol, but this is actually the largest sanctuary in Nora. There was another sanctuary in front of us, and the third one on the Snake's Point over there. 3 sanctuaries. But this one and the other one, they are special kind of a sanctuary with 3 steps. There was a layer, a middle one, and the altar. So this is the altar. So the base of this one is 80 meters long. The base per side, 80 meters. So this one is the largest sanctuary with a temple. And we don't know which god or goddess. The most important finding from Nora is called the Stele from Nora. Stele is a stone with writings. Stele from Nora is the most ancient one, written in Phoenician, found on the west. 8th, 9th century before Christ. It's so important for our people because for the first time we can read the name Sardinia. On the third line, reading from right to the left, as the Phoenicians used to write, we can read Besherden, that is in Sardinia. Sherden is Sardinia. People from Sherden, Shardana. You can see the stele from Nora in Cagliari in the National Archaeological Museum. So now you can read Phoenician if you want. So I hope that you enjoyed the tour. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. And if you want, you can write a review. It's very useful for our tourism in Sardinia. So if you like, you should write it is Nora, it's amazing, because it's amazing. And it's always better to ask for a guide. It is always better a guide than to walk by your own, as you can imagine, by yourself on your own. So remember, the name of your guide is Andrea. Thank you so much for coming. Enjoy your stay in Sardinia. If you want, you can have another walk by yourself to get pictures if you want, to stay as you want. Okay. This is the way to get out. Thank you again and bye-bye. So remember, if you are going to enter again, follow this loop. This is a loop. One way to get in, one way to get out. Thank you. Ciao.
Thank you so much.
Ciao.
Can we go there?
Unfortunately not, because there were works. The rock was falling. As you can see, there is a huge iron net to keep all the rock all together. So works are finished, but we are waiting the authorization by Marina Militare Italiana. You know, the tower is nowadays also a lighthouse. It's a working lighthouse. So we are working again. But you know, in Italy, bureaucracy is impressive. So we are just waiting for a signature. So maybe next time you can enter next time in the last room. Do you see the windows?
Yeah. Yes.
And there's nothing inside, but it's a very amazing view. Yes, it is. So maybe next time.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Ciao.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
അപ്പം ഗായ്സ് എന്താ പറയുക, നമുക്ക് നല്ലൊരു സ്പീച്ചും ഈ ഒരു നോറയെക്കുറിച്ച് ഫുള്ളൊരു ഐഡൻറ്റിഫിക്കേഷൻ ഫുള്ള് പറഞ്ഞു തന്ന്. പുള്ളിയുടെ പേര് ആന്ത്രേ എന്നാണ്. അപ്പം എന്താ പറയുക, നിങ്ങൾക്കിപ്പോൾ ഒരുവിധം എല്ലാ കാര്യങ്ങളും മനസ്സിലായിട്ടുണ്ടായി. കാര്യം ഇത് ഫുള്ള് എക്സ്പ്ലെയിൻ ചെയ്ത് തരാം എന്നെക്കൊണ്ട് പറ്റത്തില്ല. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഫുള്ള് നിങ്ങൾ കാണുക. ഓക്കെ. അപ്പം ഇത് ഫുള്ള് നിങ്ങൾക്കിപ്പോൾ ഒരു ഐഡിയ കിട്ടിയിട്ടുണ്ടായിരിക്കും. അപ്പം ഇതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് ഞാൻ ഇനി കൂടുതൽ പറയുന്നില്ല. ഇനി നിങ്ങൾക്ക് കൂടുതൽ എന്തെങ്കിലും ഇതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് അറിയണമെങ്കിൽ nora.it എന്നൊരു സൈറ്റുണ്ട്. അതിൽ ഫുൾ ഡീറ്റെയിൽസ് കൊടുത്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ അതിൽ കയറി കാണുക. അപ്പം എന്താ പറയുക, നമുക്ക് വൈൻഡപ്പ് ചെയ്യാൻ സമയമായി. അപ്പം നിങ്ങൾക്ക് വീഡിയോസ് ഇഷ്ടപ്പെട്ടെങ്കിൽ ലൈക്ക് ചെയ്യുക, അതുപോലെ ഷെയർ ചെയ്യുക, സബ്സ്ക്രൈബ് ചെയ്യുക ചാനൽ. അപ്പം ബൈ.